Welcome back here to Fox and Friends. Well, when men and women sign up to join the military, many Americans often wonder why they chose to do that. Sometimes even the parents wonder that. Frank Luntz set out to find the answer to that question. He sat down with 50 members of the Massachusetts National Guard. Take a look.
Show of hands, how many of you are proud of America? Hands down. How many of you are prepared to die for America? How many of you think a majority of Americans would raise their hands that they would be prepared to die for America? So clearly there's something different about you.
So the question this morning, what makes these men and women so willing to give their lives for our country? Frank joins us live now to talk about it. Good morning, Frank. Nice to see you this morning.
It's a pleasure. You know, I've done about 1,000 focus groups in my career, and more than 50 of them for Fox News. And I never remember a time when I was more intimidated by the people that I was standing in front of and more impressed with what they had to say. These men and women, some of them as young as 17 years old, are so committed to their country and so dedicated to service. But I want audiences at home to hear what they had to say, so let's roll the first clip.
I have a 7-year-old little sister, and I want her to grow up to enjoy the same kind of freedoms, the same, I guess you could say, wiggle room that I grew up with. I mean, I never had to grow up worrying about some of the civil liberties that we take for granted every day.
Personally, I want to ensure, the safety for my children. I have 3 small children, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 4-month-old, who are all very dear to me, of course, and my wife at home, and I just want to make sure that they can grow up in a safe country and not have to worry about things like terrorist attacks.
It's also a fast track to serve your country because, as a young individual, it's like 18, 19-year-olds, even 17-year-olds, it's hard. You can't get into police academy. It's hard to become, if you want to be, work at EMT or the hospital or not, you'd go through schools and whatnot. While here, you can enlist, get the training necessary and the pay, and do your job.
I'm sure everybody in this room remembers where they were on 9/11. I was in the 5th grade when it happened. And I just don't want future generations to have a memory like that, to remember one day in the 5th grade, oh, my friend's families just got killed in a plane crash because of someone else's wrongdoings.
And, Frank, those are fascinating points. And one really fascinating bit of news overnight is now we've seen the most deaths in Afghanistan as a result of the war that we've ever seen in the Afghanistan war. And you had an interesting discussion about going to the war front. What did you ask?
Yeah, I wanted to know how many of them would be prepared to serve, because this is not your parents' National Guard. These men and women know that it is very likely if they enlist that they are going, and in fact, they want to go. Let's take a look. Who in this room wants to be stationed in Afghanistan? You're telling me you want to go to the most dangerous place on the globe? Yes, sir. Why?
It's just what needs to be done. That's where the war is right now. We got to take it to them. I am actually going to be stationed there in May of 2011. I'll be deployed to Afghanistan.
As with me, and I know one of my friends, we're in college. I'm considering not doing ROTC so I can ship to Afghanistan and serve while it's still an opportunity.
An opportunity?
To serve my country. When you think of the military, when you truly think of it, when you're doing ROTC, they train you infantry. They train you all those tactics, how to fight, and that's who's on the front lines. Now, everyone, if you have a different MOS, you're helping the infantrymen do their job, and that's what it's all about, because they're on the front lines, they're doing the dirty work, and they're going through all the really hard stuff, and they're doing the work for the government in this country.
Gives you goosebumps, Frank, when you hear that level of commitment. It's unbelievable, and it makes you so proud. And we also heard a rallying cry there from those guys, too.
I never knew what that sound meant. I've heard it so often. And by the way, so often the National Guard is forgotten. They're the ones who are the only military service that serves both in America and abroad, and they deserve a special round of respect for that. But I want to play you, audiences at home, that sound, because for the first time, now we can explain what it really means. Let's listen. What does that mean?
Heard, understood, acknowledged.
And they teach you this?
It was actually back a long time ago. The National Guard was established in the 1600s. That's really where it originated.
And why do you say that?
Acknowledgement.
Yeah, yes, I understood, or all right, let's go do this, or yeah, it's an upward thing.
It's a universal term.
If you have a sergeant giving you an order, and instead of asking you tracking, you say yes, sergeant, he'll just say hoo-ah, everyone go.
Acknowledgement and pride, it sounds like too, Frank.
It's all of that wrapped up into one. And for viewers, if you go to theworddoctors.com, we're going to provide additional tape of these segments so you get a chance to see it. Please, when you see these young men and women in uniform from the National Guard, shake their hands, buy them a meal, tell them how grateful you are for their service, because if it wasn't for them, there wouldn't be any of us.
Great point. Frank Luntz, always great to see you this morning. We appreciate you joining us this morning from London. Coming up on the show, President Obama